Linda stood in her garage on a hot Sunday afternoon, wiping down the sticky shelves of her extra fridge. She was tossing out old mustard and expired salad dressings, only half listening to the finance podcast playing from her phone. Then, the host casually dropped a massive statistic. The average 50-year-old today has over $1 million tucked away in their investments. Linda froze mid-wipe, a bottle of barbecue sauce still in her hand. $1 million? She felt a sudden, sharp knot tie itself in her stomach. Dropping her rag, she pulled out her phone and logged into her Fidelity account to do the quick math. Looking at the screen, her heart sank. She was exactly 50, and her balance was nowhere near 7 figures. Let's stop right there and take a deep breath, because I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the $1 million number Linda just heard is basically a fairy tale. It is completely made up. The bad news, though, the real average number still isn't great, and turning 50 is like passing the very last exit before the highway completely ends. If you feel behind, you are definitely not alone. Over the next few minutes, we are going to look at what regular people actually have saved, why this massive gap exists in the first place, and what truly predicts a comfortable retirement. Best of all, we will break down the exact catch-up math that still works perfectly, even if you are starting today. To understand why Linda felt so left behind, we have to look at where that huge $1 million number actually comes from. It sounds like a random guess, but it is actually a real data point that gets shared all over the internet. According to a 2026 report from a big financial company called Empower, Americans in their 50s have an average retirement savings balance of exactly $1,050,481. When you see that number printed on a screen or hear it spoken out loud on a podcast, it hits you like a ton of bricks. It sets a massive expectation that makes almost everyone feel like they are failing. It creates this giant myth that if you are 50 years old, you are automatically supposed to have a cool $1 million sitting in your account, just waiting for you to stop working. But we need to let that number land for a second and really think about it. If you are 50 and looking at your own bank app, seeing a number like $1 million can make you want to throw your phone across the room. It feels completely impossible. It makes regular, hard-working people feel like they missed some secret meeting where everyone else learned how to get rich. This single statistic is the reason why so many people get overwhelmed and just stop tracking their money altogether. They assume they are too far behind to ever catch up. However, there is a huge catch with this $1 million figure, and it is all about how math can sometimes play tricks on us. When a report calculates an average, it groups every single person together. It adds up the savings of regular teachers, nurses, and factory workers, but then it also adds in the savings of multimillionaires, CEOs, and tech executives who have massive fortunes. Because those ultra-wealthy people have so much money, they pull the final average way up, making it look like everyone is doing amazingly well. In reality, that $1 million average does not represent what a normal American has saved at all. It is just a distorted picture that makes the rest of us feel unnecessary panic on a Sunday afternoon. To fix this panic, we need to look at a completely different math rule. Instead of looking at the average, we should look at a number called the median. The median is the true middle point of a group. Imagine if you took every single 50-year-old in America and lined them up in a straight row, starting from the person with the absolute least amount of money all the way to the person with the most. The person standing right in the very center of that long line represents the median. According to that same data set from Empower, the median retirement savings for an American in their 50s is actually $460,363. That is still a lot of money, but it is less than half of the scary $1 million number we heard earlier. It is a much more realistic picture of what a normal person has actually saved. To see why the first number was so wrong, let us look at a simple story. Imagine you belong to a small neighborhood book club with 9 of your friends. All 10 of you have regular jobs, like teaching school or working in a local store, and you all have a normal amount of money. But then, one Tuesday night, one of the members buys a scratch-off lottery ticket and wins a massive $50 million jackpot. They are instantly incredibly rich. The next day, a reporter decides to calculate the average wealth of your book club. They add up everyone's money, including the huge jackpot, and divide it by 10. On paper, the math says the average member of your club is now a multimillionaire. But at the next meeting, 9 of the members are still worrying about their bills and looking for grocery coupons. The average makes the whole group look rich, but it is a total lie for almost everyone in the room. This is exactly what happens with the $1 million retirement number. A small cluster of super high earners pulls the average way up. These are the people who own giant corporations, inherit massive fortunes, or make millions of dollars every single year. Their huge bank accounts inflate the final score for everyone else. When the researchers calculate the average, those giant numbers mask the truth about what regular people are going through. The median number of $460,363 tells us the real story. It proves that half of the people in their 50s have more than that amount, but the other half have less. It shows that you do not need to feel like a total failure just because you do not have 7 figures in your investment app. The giant myth number is just a result of a few lucky high earners skewing the data. Once we push those extreme numbers out of the way, we can finally see the real map of where people stand, and we can start making a real plan that actually fits everyday life. Now it is time to take a quick pause and look at your own numbers. Pull out your phone, open up your financial apps, and look at the real balance you have built up. Do not feel bad or judge yourself based on what you see. We just want to get a completely clear and honest picture of where you are standing right now. Once you have your number, we can use it to see exactly where you fit on the retirement savings ladder. To do this, we are going to look at the official milestones from the Federal Reserve and big investment companies like Fidelity. This ladder splits savers into different levels, from the bottom to the very top, so you can see where you actually fall compared to other Americans who are also in their 50s. Before we climb the ladder, we need to clear up one important detail so the numbers do not get confusing. You might notice that some reports show much smaller numbers than others. That happens because of where the data comes from. The big $1 million number we talked about earlier comes from individual investment accounts at financial firms like Empower. These reports only look at people who already have active accounts set up. But the Federal Reserve looks at entire households across the whole country, including families who do not have any retirement accounts at all. That is why the Federal Reserve data gives a much broader and more realistic view of normal household wealth. Let us start at the bottom of the ladder. If you look at the bottom 25% of Americans in their 50s, many families have very little saved, and some have nothing at all. Moving up to the middle of the ladder, we find the true median. For a single person with an active investment account, that middle point is around $460,000. But when you look at the broader household measure from the Federal Reserve, the real median drops down to about $185,000. That means if your household has around $185,000 saved for retirement, you are right in the exact center of the country. You are doing better than half of the households in America. As we climb higher into the top 25%, the numbers start to jump up significantly. At this level, families usually have a few $100,000 saved, often getting close to $500,000. Next is the top 10%, where you find the families who actually have achieved that legendary status of holding $1 million or more in their accounts. Finally, at the very top 1% of the ladder, the balances skyrocket into multiple millions of dollars. These are the ultra-wealthy individuals whose massive accounts inflate the national averages and cause so much confusion. By seeing this full ladder, you can stop comparing yourself to a fake average and see exactly where you stand. Knowing your real spot on the ladder is the best way to stop worrying and start building a real plan to move up. Now that we understand how these big statistics work, it is time for a serious reality check about what you actually need compared to what most people have saved. Financial experts have created specific rules to help you track your progress. A very popular benchmark from major investment companies like Fidelity and Guardian says that by the time you reach age 50, you should have exactly 6 times your current annual salary saved for retirement. That means if you make $60,000 a year, your goal should be to have $360,000 tucked away. If you make $100,000, the goal hops up to $600,000. It is a simple formula meant to keep you on the right path, but when you compare this expert advice to real-world data, you see a massive gap. The everyday reality for most people in their 50s looks completely different from the expert rules. We can see this clearly by looking at Generation X, which is the group of people currently in this exact age bracket. A well-known organization called the Trans-America Center for Retirement Studies tracks exactly how much this generation has actually managed to save. Their data shows that for Gen Xers between the ages of 45 and 54, the average retirement savings balance is $313,220. But remember how high earners can pull the average way up? When you look at the true middle point, the median savings for this exact group drops all the way down to just $115,000. This creates a stunning gap between standard financial advice and real human lives. The official guidelines say you should have hundreds of thousands of dollars ready to go by age 50. Yet the typical middle point American in that exact age group is standing there with $115,000. If you are looking at your own accounts and feeling stressed because you are nowhere near 6 times your income, you need to realize that almost your entire generation is in the exact same boat. The benchmarks are useful targets, but they do not match the real financial struggles, bills, and expenses that everyday families have faced over the years. Knowing this reality check does not mean you should give up, but it should help you stop feeling isolated so you can focus on what to do next. Saving for the future becomes much harder when you look at the heavy financial weight most 50-year-olds are carrying right now. It is not just about the money flowing into retirement accounts, it is also about the massive amount of money flowing out to pay off past choices. According to data from the credit reporting agency Experian, Generation X carries the heaviest average debt load of any generation in the country, with an average total debt of $158,105 per person. This giant 6-figure number is a combination of home mortgages, car payments, everyday credit card bills, and even lingering student loans that parents took out to help their kids go to college. This debt is a massive roadblock for anyone trying to build up their nest egg. Instead of using their peak earning years to supercharge their savings, many people in their 50s are forced to send large chunks of their paychecks straight to credit card companies. To make matters worse, interest rates on credit cards are currently sitting north of 21%. Borrowing money at that high of a rate means your balances grow incredibly fast if you do not pay them off completely each month. It creates a stressful cycle where families feel like they are running on a treadmill, working harder and harder but never actually getting closer to their goals. When you are paying over 20% interest on a credit card, that debt actively cancels out the positive growth you might be getting from your investments. If we want to talk about a real plan to catch up, we have to look honestly at this heavy backpack of debt that so many people are wearing, because lighten debt is the fastest way to free up cash for the future. If you find yourself behind on your savings goals at age 50, it is very important to realize that this situation is not a personal failure. A lot of hardworking people blame themselves, but the truth is that a unique set of outside pressures has targeted this specific age group over the last several years. For starters, people in their 50s often find themselves stuck in the middle of the sandwich generation. This means they are simultaneously squeezed by 2 massive financial and emotional obligations. On one side, they are still supporting their teenage or college-age children, and on the other side, they are stepping up to pay for the medical care and living expenses of their aging parents. Being a caregiver for both generations drains your bank account and your energy at the exact moment in your career when you are supposed to be saving the most. Beyond family duties, the economy itself has dealt some rough hands to this specific age cohort. Data shows that between the years 2019 and 2023, people in this age bracket suffered a distinct real wealth dip that other generations managed to avoid. While younger workers had more time to bounce back and older retirees had already locked in their gains, 50-year-olds got hit hard by rapid price increases on everyday items like groceries, insurance, and utilities. The money that should have been fueling investment accounts had to be redirected just to keep up with the rising cost of normal living. It was an unavoidable economic storm that flattened a lot of savings plans right when they needed to grow the most. Finally, the rules of the retirement system itself do not always help until it is almost too late. The government does allow special catch-up contributions, which let you put extra money into your retirement accounts once you hit a certain age. However, these higher limits only unlock the exact year you turn 50. While this is a helpful tool, it arrives far too late to undo a whole decade of lost compounding. Compounding is when your investment earnings earn their own earnings over time, creating a snowball effect. Missing out on that snowball effect during your 30s and 40s cannot simply be erased by saving a bit extra today. Acknowledging these facts is not about making excuses or giving up. It is about looking at the map with true empathy so you can forgive yourself for the past and focus clearly on the road ahead. When people realize they are behind on their retirement savings, it is very common to lean on a few comforting ideas to help them sleep better at night. They tell themselves that everything will work out because of a future safety net, or they make a simple backup plan in their heads. However, we need to take a completely honest look at these ideas because relying on them can be very dangerous. The first big myth that many people secretly count on is receiving a massive inheritance from their parents or older relatives. It is easy to assume that a sudden wave of family money will arrive just in time to wipe away your debt and fill up your investment app. But the real data tells a completely different story. The idea of a giant inheritance saving the day is mostly a fantasy for normal families. When you look at the actual numbers across the country, the median inheritance in America is only a few $1,000s. That small amount of money is barely enough to cover a major car repair or a couple of months of groceries, let alone pay for 20 or 30 years of retirement. Furthermore, the large, life-changing sums of family wealth are heavily concentrated in the top 7% of the richest households in the country. For the vast majority of regular, hardworking people, there is simply no giant pot of gold waiting at the end of the rainbow. Counting on an inheritance that might never come, or that might be completely eaten up by nursing home and medical bills for your parents, is a risk you cannot afford to take. The second common myth is the belief that you can simply choose to work forever. Many people look at their low bank balances at age 50 and say, "That is fine, I will just work until I'm 75 or 80 years old." While continuing to work is a great way to stay active and bring in extra income, it is not a guaranteed fix for a missing nest egg. Life often has other plans. Your health might decline, a company might downsize, or you might need to step away from your job to care for a family member. To make matters worse, recent national studies show that approximately 28% of all Americans have absolutely zero retirement savings across the board, regardless of how old they are. This shocking number proves that simply staying in the workforce is not a magical solution that automatically builds wealth. If you do not have an active plan to save and invest the money you are making right now, working longer just means delaying the problem rather than solving it. We have to let go of these false safety nets so we can take full control of our own math starting today. To see how someone actually wins this game, let us look at a normal 50-year-old named Mark. Mark never owned a giant business, he never won the lottery, and he never inherited a single dollar from his family. He worked a regular middle-class job his entire adult life, making an average salary that was just enough to pay the bills and raise his kids. Yet when Mark opened his financial app on his 50th birthday, he did not feel that sinking feeling in his stomach. Instead, his retirement balance sat comfortably right in that $460,000 median mark we talked about earlier. Mark managed to get ahead of the curve not by luck, but by making a few quiet, smart choices that anyone can copy. His first and most powerful secret weapon was automation. Years ago, Mark decided to take human temptation completely out of the equation. He set up his paycheck so that a small percentage of his money was automatically sent directly into his retirement account before it ever touched his main bank account. Because he never saw that money land in his checking account, he never had the chance to spend it on fast food, new clothes, or random gadgets. It grew quietly in the background, month after month, year after year. The second major pillar of Mark's success was maximizing his employer match. When his company offered a retirement plan, they promised to match his contributions up to 4% of his salary. Mark realized that this match was literally free money sitting on the table. Even in tight years, when money was incredibly scarce, he made sure to save just enough to capture every single penny his job offered. Over a few decades, that free employer money combined with his own savings to create a massive snowball effect that supercharged his total balance. Finally, Mark mastered the art of avoiding lifestyle creep. Whenever he received a hard-earned raise or a holiday bonus at work, he did not immediately rush out to upgrade his lifestyle. He did not buy a flashier car with a higher monthly payment or move into a bigger house that cost more to heat and cool. Instead, he kept living exactly like he did before the raise, and he channeled that new extra money straight into his investments. By keeping his fixed costs low and letting his growing income fuel his future, Mark calmly built a real nest egg that will protect him for the rest of his life. Mark's journey proves that reaching the middle point of financial security does not require a miracle. It just requires a few steady habits that keep your money working for you while you focus on living your life. Even if you are starting from zero at age 50, you are not out of options. You just need a clear game plan to make the most of your time. The first step in this playbook is to check where your spare money is sitting. If you have extra cash resting in a normal checking account, it is earning almost zero interest. You should immediately move that idle cash into a high-yield savings account. These accounts are completely safe, but they pay much higher interest, meaning your money starts growing instantly without any risk. Next, confirm that you are capturing your full employer match at work. As we saw with Mark, this match is free money. If your job matches your retirement savings up to a certain percent, make sure you contribute enough to get every penny. Leaving an employer match on the table is like turning down a guaranteed bonus on your paycheck. Once your match is secure, take advantage of special government rules. When you turn 50, you unlock a massive benefit called catch-up contributions. For your workplace 401k plan, you can push your total individual contribution limit to a massive $31,000. Even if you cannot save that full amount right away, this higher limit gives you room to aggressively expand your savings as you earn more over time. While you build your savings, you must attack your debts using a strategy called the avalanche method. Look at your credit cards and loans and find any balance with an interest rate higher than 8%. With the avalanche method, you focus all your extra cash on paying off the card with the highest interest rate first, while just paying the minimums on the others. Wiping out this expensive debt stops high interest from canceling out your progress. To find the cash for these goals, audit your monthly expenses and reverse lifestyle creep. Look closely at your bank statements to spot hidden costs like streaming subscriptions you do not use anymore. Cutting these small, unnecessary leaks easily frees up cash each month. Once you find that money, use it to slowly step up your savings rate. Instead of making a giant jump all at once, increase your retirement contribution rate by just 1 or 2% every 6 months. This slow adjustment gives your budget time to adapt, and you will barely notice the change in your pay. Finally, supercharge this playbook by making one move to grow your income. You can ask your boss for a raise, look into a side income for extra cash, or get a quick skill certification that qualifies you for a higher paying job. Combining a higher income with steady habits will let you successfully rewrite your financial future, starting today. To see the true power of this playbook, we need to look at how much your money can grow over the next 17 years. If you start at age 50 and work until the full retirement age of 67, you have a solid stretch of time to build wealth. Let us assume your investments earn a standard 7% annual return in the market. If you can squeeze out just $500 a month to invest, your balance will grow to a very helpful $181,000 by the time you reach 67. If you can step it up and save $1,000 every month, that compounding snowball rolls even faster, leaving you with a fantastic total of $363,000. For those who can truly push their budget and invest $1,500 a month, the final number skyrockets to over $545,000. These scenarios prove that consistency matters far more than a perfect past. Let us return one last time to Linda standing in her garage on that warm Sunday afternoon. The sticky shelves of the extra fridge were finally clean, and the expired condiments were tossed into the trash. She took a deep breath, letting the initial panic from that podcast ad completely melt away. She realized she did not need to feel ashamed or defeated by a fake statistic that did not represent regular life. Instead of shutting her phone down and hiding from the reality of her money, Linda opened her workplace 401k account app with a calm sense of purpose. She looked at her balance, logged into her settings, and raised her automatic contribution rate by just 2%. It was a small, quiet change, but it completely transformed her financial roadmap. You can make that exact same choice today, no matter what your bank app says right now. It is incredibly easy to get trapped in your own head, staring at a scoreboard and feeling like the game is already over before you even try. But the truth is that the past is completely behind you, and your current starting point does not define where you will finish. You do not need a massive, perfect number by age 50. You just need the right trajectory by age 67. If this video helped clear up the retirement myths and gave you a real plan, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a step on your wealth-building journey. Just remember that I am not a financial analyst, so it is incredibly important to always do your own deep research before investing your hard-earned income anywhere. Take control of your money today. Keep making smart steps forward, and I will see you in the next video.